Hey guys, John, back with another anti-guru video live from the beach hut. It's June, would you believe it? June has been and happened and occurred, and we're still locked down in the UK. So what better time, I think, to be finding an area to develop in? What better time to be looking for a new target zone for you to be focusing your development activity on? So I want to go through what I look for when I'm thinking about target areas. But before I do that, I want to say a big thank you to those who are joining me once again for another ramble from the beach hut. And more importantly, thank you to all those subscribers who have jumped on and subscribed to this channel. We're now above the 200 mark, which is amazing. I'm going to celebrate every 100 until we get to 1,000. So we're now above the 200 mark. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, like, subscribe, and most definitely comment. This video came as a result of a comment. This came as a result of someone turning around and saying, hey, John, I kind of want to know about this. So here we go. So finding a target area. Now you notice I'm not going to use the normal cliched term. I'm not going to use it in terms of, oh yeah, this is my area. I'm going to use that term for that purpose. I'm going to talk about it a bit, but I'm going to talk about it as an analogy rather than as an area. What I want to talk about is targets. Now, targets in any way of life are important. Yeah, we have targets when we work. We have targets at school. We have personal, self-imposed targets. I want to do this by a certain date. Having a target area when you're a property developer is absolutely critical in my view. But the first and foremost, the first step to defining target is defining yourself. So defining a target area starts with you, I think. Starts with what you want to do. Now, precious few property developers actually do this. They actually do a bit of inward self-looking and identify what type of property development they want to do. The why in our victory model is you, and is the development in line with your property development strategy? Is it in line with your aims and aspirations for property development? And actually getting that right is really quite important, because if you're not passionate about what you're doing, then that will come across. It will come across in how you react to council. It'll come across in how you react to your professionals. It'll come across in how you set the building out. If you're not passionate about it, if you're just building pods, then you're not going to be in any way passionate about how these things get set out. You're all just going to be about the money. And that isn't the driver here. The driver should be something else. So start with you. What is important to you? What do you want to do? I would always define two strategies, a fast strategy and a slow strategy, a tortoise and a hare. And I talk when we're on our Goa bootcamp about the tortoise and a hare a lot. When we go to Jersey this year, I'm going to be talking about it again. The fast and the slow. The slow is the longer term strategies, the fast is the quicker strategies. The idea is the fast provides your cash flow, the slower provides your long burn, your big lumpy money. So you've got an idea of what you want to do, and it starts with that. Then have a look at what areas you know the best. Again, we're still focused on you, right? We're still focused on you. When I first started out looking for development opportunities, I started with Gosport and Fareham. I know Gosport and Fareham like the back of my hand. I live here. I know what the market is doing here. One of the first opportunities that I looked at seriously was literally just around the corner from my house, just down the road. I looked at Gosport and Fareham first. When we did rent-to-rent HMOs, our first rent-to-rent HMO was in Gosport. We knew the marketplace, we knew it worked, or we knew what we could make work. So it all starts with you. When you're hunting for an area, when you're hunting for a target, go with what you know. The first rule in business is to utilize the resources that you have. Right. So once we've found or identified a strategy, because strategy must come first. Vital that strategy comes before anything else. I want to do this. One of the symptoms of NDS, New Developer Syndrome, is the scattergun approach. So one of the things we're trying to avoid there is that. And you'll avoid that by getting strategy nailed down really, really quickly. So once you've nailed down your strategy and identified where you know best, so it could be your hometown, it could be here, it could be there. Strangely enough, you're most passionate about making a difference where you live. Oddly, you're most passionate about making a difference where you live. Most property developers take the view, I can't work where I live. There's a phrase that goes along with that, but you know, I'm not going to go there just yet. It's you don't shit where you eat. But I personally think you're most passionate about where you live or where you want to live. So look at that first. Once you've identified strategy and the place you know best, right? Strategy and the place you know best, you then move on to what I call trial pitting. Now this is where the analogy comes in, the gold mining analogy. Now the analogy that I apply is taken from placer miners. Now placer miners work up in Alaska, the Yukon, where what they are trying to do is identify gold seams that run through ancient river channels, and they follow those gold seams. But in order to identify where the gold seams are, they do trial pits. Now let's apply that analogy to your new target area, your new claim, as it were. Let's use that gold mining analogy to the full extent. So you've got your claim area that you're looking at, and let's use the gold mining analogy then on that. So now we're doing trial pits based on our strategy. Say we're going HMOs, or say we're going flips, or say we're going house conversions, house to flat conversions, or we're going for serviced accommodation, if you can do that, or we're going for commercial conversions. So we're going to then do a series of trial pits, of test pits, to see what is going on in that area. We're going to look at resources like Nimbus, which has, for example, the land price layers within it that give you the average price per square foot sold based on the land registry. So that's going to help us focus ourselves in a little bit more. And then we're going to do this sequence of trial pits. So do big trial pits, have a look at the wider area, and then we focus ourselves in based on our strategy. And then we're going to test. Now testing would be something like putting some numbers together, seeing if you can make a deal stack up, throwing letters out, seeing if you get any bites back. And I don't mean just unstrategically throwing letters out, I mean directing your attention towards one thing and one thing only for a period of time. It is oh so difficult to get a property developer to focus their attention on one strategy and one strategy alone, when there are so many strategies being thrown out at you left, right and centre. But what we want to do is focus our attention down. And I'll apply this to my own experience in a minute. So we've focused on that one strategy. We've done some trial pits and we've identified our seam. We're following now the trail. So we're following the trail of gold. Now the purpose of doing this is you do not move from that claim. You do not move your equipment, move your operation, move anything until you feel you have exhausted it. Now, going back to our placer mining example, they do not leave the claim until the gold to weight ratio, the amount of ounces per cubic yard, they are getting out of their machinery falls below a threshold. Normally it's about 10 ounces per cubic yard. They're happy. They're going to follow that seam until it runs out. Now, I don't understand why property developers don't do the same thing. Why you don't follow the gold seam. Follow it and follow it and follow it and follow it. Because if you're in an area, and if you look at any of the successful property investors, if you look at people like Rob Moore and Mark Homer, if you look at people like Andy Cook and Lloyd Girardi, they stayed in a zone. They stayed in an area. They kept their machinery going. Andy and Lloyd's big success up in Barrow-in-Furness was because they identified an area that was being fed by the shipbuilding industry, and they kept the machinery going. That's where their big success has come. They've also stayed in their home patch in Northamptonshire. They know Northamptonshire, and they've got a scattering of developments in Northamptonshire as well. And that's because they know their home patch. Fast and slow. All the same strategy. All built to rent. But that's the thing. That's the power of focus. So you follow that gold seam. You follow that line of properties until you can do no more. And only then, in my view, and I'm saying in my view over and over again because this is a common battle. This is the scattering that we're trying to combat. Only then do you move your machinery. It costs plus or minus $10,000 to $20,000 per day for their machinery to be down, right? For their machinery to not be working. That's not fuel cost because it's not burning any fuel. That's opportunity lost. That's them not being on the gold seam and producing, right? You should take the same view. How much money is it costing for you to be scattering yourself over a wide area? Having to relearn this council and this council and this council, relearn every building quote inside of an area, relearn all of the financials inside of an area because every area is subtly different. I can't apply the same logic to Plymouth as I apply in Portsmouth because they are different, even though they're port cities built at the same time in the same country and roughly, broadly, in the same kind of location. Plymouth is a peninsula city, Portsmouth is an island city, both on the south coast, just in different regions. Can't apply the same logic. So follow that seam. Follow that gold seam and don't deviate. So don't lose focus on that seam because the real wealth creation is done when you follow a seam to its end and only move at the end. It's very easy to become distracted. It's very easy to say, well, hang on a minute, I want to scatter myself. I want a broader reach. Let's move on to what we're doing. Because you may be shouting right now and saying, John, you hypocrite. I know that you've got property developments in Plymouth and you've got property developments in Pembroke Dock. Yeah? And I also know that you've just put an offer in on a pub in Oxfordshire. Yep. But let's apply the principle. Our area is wider. Our area is wider because our specialism is tighter. Heritage buildings is a specialism unto itself. And so you have to then go to where the heritage building is. There isn't many of them and you have to go and find them. So even the pub that we've put an offer in, offer accepted on, and we're currently going through permission in principle on, in Oxfordshire, is a heritage building. It's non-statutory heritage. It's been there for over 200 years. It is an old building, probably one of the oldest buildings in that village and part of the original village centre. So, heritage, specialism. And that's the important thing about specialising. That's the important thing about getting your strategy right. Our strategy focuses on heritage buildings. That's what we're doing. We're converting heritage buildings, normally to flats. Sometimes we might build some houses in the land, and therefore the parallels between what we're doing on the pub and what we're doing at Raglan Gatehouse are profound, because at Raglan Gatehouse it's conversion of a heritage building and houses on the land. At the pub it's conversion of a heritage building and houses on the land. The specialism is there, and that gives us focus, and that gives us drive, and we're doing something we are passionate about. Insanely passionate about. So when it comes, just to recap, when it comes to finding that target area, focus on you first. What do you want to do, and where do you know best? What do you want to do, and where do you know best? Don't deviate from the strategy once you've set it for yourself. That is your target. Follow it. If you want to give yourself a time period to follow it, do it. But make that time period a year or more. Development takes time. So make that time period a year or more. Don't just flit between strategies once a month. That will not work, because all you will do is end up having to relearn a strategy every single month. And then you'll get analysis paralysis. And then you will fall into another one of the traps in new developer syndrome, the I know everything trap. I hope that's been of interest. I really hope that's helped the person who commented. And it was a comment both on YouTube and in the Property Expert community group on Facebook. I really enjoy doing these videos. I'm going to look forward to editing this one. It's going to be good. And I will see you for the next one. Do not forget that I want to do the next video in the Purpose Built HMO series, but I can only do so if you, dear viewer, give me 30 likes. It's already up to about 20. So get me over that 30 mark, and the case study is coming. I've already got it queued up. I know exactly what I'm doing with it, but it's reliant on you. Have a great day, everyone. Catch me on the next Anti-Guru. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you for the next installment.